you. Who else could it be but your man Louie? Yeah.
And overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. Rams, Bears, Saints. Oh my. Hell, let's throw them in there too. They benefited from this game as well, as the Chicago Bears defeat the Los Angeles Rams. The Bears, they're back like cook crack. And I think I apologized after the win versus the Minnesota Vikings about 3 weeks ago on Sunday Night Football, but let me reiterate. I was wrong about this Bears football team, and I picked them to win this game. I knew they were going to win tonight. But they're for real. They're ferocious on defense. I saw that earlier in the season. I've seen them dismantle some teams. I saw them push the Pats to the limit. Really, they should have won that game versus the Patriots. They had them on the ropes early in that ball game, but let them off the hook. This is a really good Chicago Bears football team. They've got a couple of issues that I think will ultimately catch up with them come postseason time. They're not quite where they need to be a Super Bowl contender. That defense is ready to go right now. I hope the injury to Bryce Callahan isn't a serious one. It looked like some kind of ankle injury if I had to speculate. But again, I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, so I don't want to speculate nor guess on anything. But it looked like some sort of ankle injury. We'll find out more, obviously, tomorrow. They'll probably, at the press conference, give a little bit of an update as to what the severity of the injury was, or at least what the injury itself was. You'll know more about the severity of it tomorrow. Hopefully he's not out for an extended period of time, because he's a huge part of this defense. I thought Sherrick McManus came in and played well in the absence of Bryce Callahan, but this defense was ridiculous. It was stupid tonight. We've seen them do this before, though, this year, okay? They did it to Brett Favre. They did it to Aaron Rodgers, very first game of the season. We didn't know what the Bears were then, but they really suffocated Aaron Rodgers for 3 3/4 quarters of that game until Rodgers woke up at the very end, brought him back. But we saw him against Minnesota do the same thing on Sunday Night Football. They've done this season before. This isn't the first time that they've put the clamps down on an offense that can move the football. This is what the Bears do. They're good on defense. If you did not know this, the Bears are good on defense. I watched them, and I know the Buffalo Bills aren't a really good football team. I get it. I understand. But Mitchell Trubisky, I watched them score 41 points in a game where Mitchell Trubisky had 130 yards passing. Okay? That's how good this Bears defense is, right? So let me reiterate, this Bears defense is really good. In case you didn't know, in case you missed the memo, in case you missed it, this Bears defense is legit, folks. So they're going to be around, and they're going to be in ball games, and they're going to have a chance to win against some of the upper echelon teams in this league because of this defense. The thing that's going to stop them from, there are two things right now that I see that are going to stop this team from reaching their maximum potential right now. Maybe not in the future, but right now, there are two things, two items that I think they're going to have to clean up. Obviously, Mitchell Trubisky is going to have to play better. We've seen him play better. He had the 6-touchdown game against Tampa Bay. We know he's capable of playing much better. But we've seen when pressure is on Mitchell Trubisky, you can get this Mitchell Trubisky right here that you got tonight. You can get Mitch to throw it to the wrong color jersey, all right? 3 interceptions, inexcusable, bad decisions, bad throws. And the thing that frustrates you is that this could have easily been a 31-6 shellacking if Mitchell Trubisky takes care of the football. You know, that interception before halftime, that is just god-awful. Like Chris Collinsworth said, that is as basic a cover 3 look as you will see. The corner on the outside bails, the underneath defender goes into the hook zone, and he threw it right to him. I mean, you couldn't have tailor-made a pick any better than that. That is easy football 101, don't do it, pick, right before the half. That pick over the middle of the football field, Collinsworth tried to make it seem like it was an easy throw. There was a defender underneath, but you can't airmail that throw. The first pick of the game, you can't airmail that throw. Those 2 picks were basically airmailed, gift wrapped to the Rams. Mitchell Trubisky was terrible tonight. But what he brings to the table that a guy like Chase Daniel doesn't is the ability to use his legs. That mobility extends plays, it extends drives, and he did use his legs tonight very successfully. This Bears run game, which we talked about, and the Bears themselves have talked about needing to get this run game going. Well, they got it going last week against the Giants, and that spilled over into this week. Jordan Howard, over 100 yards tonight. Mitchell Trubisky chipped in with his additional 30, 40 yards rushing, whatever he had. And I thought it was that calming influence on this football game, the run game for the Bears, that kept them out of trouble. If they had to throw it 45 times tonight, they might lose this game. Mitchell Trubisky might throw a pick six somewhere in here. But the fact that the run game didn't look like it did earlier in the season where they couldn't manufacture runs and couldn't get the offense going based off the run, they were able to turn around, hand it off to Cohen, to Jordan Howard, and Trubisky when he needed to keep it and run it himself. They were able to make this clock go. They were able to control the pace of this game. And more importantly, stay out of long down and distances. And when you're in 3rd and 9, like the Rams were constantly in 3rd and long tonight, you find yourself in some really precarious situations against a defense that can force you into some mistakes. And that's what happened against this Bears defense tonight for the Rams. Thought it was a well-played football game. This was fun to watch. And I don't know if you guys have watched or you watch games around the league or if you just watch your own team. But let me reiterate this. Today, this week in the National Football League was a statement that defense still wins and that no matter how good your offense is, a great defense trumps good offense all the time. All right? Good defense trumps good offense every time. Now, the Chiefs won the game today. If Lamar Jackson was a little bit better of a quarterback, the Chiefs don't win today. You see what I'm saying? That Chiefs offense, high-flying, score a bunch of points, they were reduced to a shell of themselves today. Now, you could blame no Kareem Hunt. He's not coming back. So we don't want to hear that. And without Kareem Hunt against a lesser team, they're still going to score 38. Not against the Ravens defense. This Rams team, those two teams that were in one of the highest scoring games we've seen in recent memory, Chiefs and Rams, over 50 points, both of them, just a month ago on a Monday night. Reduced to a shell of themselves in Week 14. Now, the Chiefs, able to get the win. Rams, not so lucky. And there are a number of reasons why I think the Rams struggled tonight. We'll get into those a little bit later on. But I want to talk more about the Bears and what the future for this Bears football team can be because it's very bright. Their defense, A1. It's as legit as it gets. We had this discussion, I want to say 2 weeks ago, when we were talking Cowboys and they had beaten the Redskins. Was it the Redskins? I don't know. No, Sunday. Was it a Sunday night? No, Thursday night football, as a matter of fact, when the Cowboys beat the Saints. We had the discussion. Best defense in the league. I think the best defense in the league is the Dallas Cowboys. I've said that already. But the Bears are right there. I think the Bears are right there. And you could argue. If you said, nope, Bears are the best defense, Cowboys are second, I wouldn't argue with you. I mean, you saw what they did tonight. I'd raise you what the Bears did tonight, and I'd show you what the Cowboys did to the Saints on Thursday Night Football last week or 2 weeks ago. So either way, this Bears defense is as legit as it gets in this league right now. Ravens, Bears, Cowboys. You put them in whatever order you want. Okay, those are your top three defenses in football in 2018. But I've said this a number of times. I hate to beat a dead horse, but I really think Cody Park is going to cost this Bears team, whether it be sometime down the road in the regular season or into the postseason. I told them and the Chargers what they needed to do. You need to get Giorgio Tavecchio. I don't know where he is. Find him. If he's on an NFL roster, you missed your opportunity. But that was the guy. That was the guy that I thought that these teams needed to pursue. to upgrade their kicking position. Cody Parkey's going to cost you a game. All right, I've said this a number of times. He's going to cost you a game. Shit is sweet right now because you're winning. So it's easy to overlook a missed field goal in a 9-point game when you end up winning that game by 9 and your defense is suffocating. But what happens when you need that field goal in a tie ball game, or you're down 3 and you need to force overtime, or you're down 2 and this wins you the game, and Cody Parkey decides to push it wide left or bang it up against the upright? No good. Fix this shit while you can before it costs you. And Mitchell Trubisky has to play better. He has to play much, much better. Yeah, I know. He missed 2 games in a row with the shoulder injury, and this was his first game back. And so, you want to get him back into the rhythm of things and yada, yada, yada. I hear all of that. Look, I don't want to hear any of that, honestly speaking. All right? We're 14 weeks in. He's played in 11 of your 13 contests this year. I don't want to hear any excuses about being out, shoulder injury, got to get back into the rhythm and flow. He made mental mistakes. This wasn't physical limitations tonight. These were mental mistakes. You can't do that. You can't make that throw before the half. That's a no-no. You see a guy running wide open, you can't airmail it. All right? Bottom line is, though, when it's all said and done, between Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman, who was exceptional tonight, who I think a lot of people overlook on this Bears defense. I don't, but a lot of people do. Gumby, a.k.a. Leonard Floyd, Roquan Smith, Eddie Jackson, Kyle Fuller. Hell, even Prince Amukamara has second life on this Bears defense. All of a sudden, he looks like the guy the Giants spent the first-round pick on once upon a time out of Nebraska. Was it the Giants? Or was it the Jags? I think it was the Giants. Yeah, it was the Giants. Either way, even he looks like a stud. This defense is ridiculous. Danny Trevathan, I could go on and on and on. What's the hyphenated guy's name? Robertson Jones or something like that? Shit, he's even good. I take some of that too. Their defense, it's really good. They're going to be a problem. They're going to be a major problem. When it's all said and done, look out for the Chicago Bears. They're going to win a playoff game. I don't know if they'll win more than that this year. I don't know if they're ready, quarterback and kicking-wise, to win more than just a game. But they're going to win a game this year. Whoever comes to Soldier Field. Because they're going to win this division. I've already given them the division in the NFC North. Whomever comes to Chicago, it's going to be cold as shit. You already know that. You already know. It's going to be cold as shit. And you're going to have to deal with this defense. And now all of a sudden, they're running the ball now. Sucks to be you. Somebody's got to go to Chicago and get their ass beat in Wild Card Weekend. Somebody's going to have to be served up. Whoever that, because I think they're going to ultimately be the 3rd seed in the NFC. I don't see Dallas overtaking them. I think they're going to hold Dallas off and make Dallas the 4th seed. And so whomever the 6th seed is in the NFC playoffs, and that could easily be Carolina, it could be Philadelphia. There are a number of teams. That's why it sucks to be a Redskins fan, because the NFC playoffs, this was tailor-made for an NFC team to backdoor their way in. Like the Eagles are probably going to get in. Backdoor. Special. Because the NFC playoffs stink. That back end stinks. Seattle's legit. Minnesota stinks to a degree. I think they're going to lose on Monday. And they're struggling. Carolina can't get their shit together. They've lost 4 in a row. 5 in a row. Something like that. The Redskins stink. They're at 6-7. The Packers are at 5-7-1. They're trying to get their shit together. It's too late for them. But is it really? I mean, the NFC stinks, playoff-wise. Back end, that is. You've got the top-heavy guys of Chicago, New Orleans, and the Rams. Dallas is right there, but they're not quite in that group. And then you've got Seattle, who I think is a firm playoff participant, and in that 6th seed, somebody's going to backdoor their way in. I mean, at one point, I thought it's going to take 9, possibly 10 to get in the NFC playoffs. Shit, you might be able to get in with 8 this year, man. Like, that's how bad the NFC is shaping up because teams can't get their act together. And all the Redskins would have had to do was win 8 games at this point. 8-8 might have got them in if we didn't have goddamn Dirty Chaz and Josh Johnson playing quarterback for us right now. 9-7 definitely would have got you in a ticket to the dance. So it's really disappointing because the NFC, that back end, that wild card race, outside of Seattle, man, it stinks. If Minnesota goes to Seattle and wins tomorrow night, that changes things. Now it's a different conversation because Seattle's getting in. They're going to get in. So if Minnesota says, hey, we getting in too, stop playing us, all right, that changes my mind a little bit if they win tomorrow. But I don't see them win tomorrow. They've got issues of their own. So it'll be pretty interesting. But I said all of that to say this. Bears are winning the NFC North, and they're going to beat somebody's ass in Wild Card Weekend. And if it's got to beat Minnesota again, so be it. So be it. It's not going to be pretty, though. But bottom line is, this is a really good Bears football team. And I'm so impressed with what they've done in such a short amount of time. I never thought, and there were people before the season started that were calling the Bears as a division winner and saying that Matt Nagy was going to come in and change the culture similar to what Sean McVay did last year for the Rams, and I just wasn't buying it. Like, there's no way they're going to turn this thing around this quickly. Maybe next year, not this year. I was wrong. I was as wrong as I could possibly be, and it's fun to watch this Bears defense. It really is. As for the Rams, I saw this one coming a mile away. A, they're not a cold weather team. B, Sean McVay, for all of his splendor, and I know this firsthand as a Redskins fan, for all of his splendor, he can sometimes get caught up in wanting to throw the football. We saw it on that Monday night shootout with Kansas City. Todd Gurley didn't get nearly enough touches on the ground in that game. He can sometimes get caught up in getting pass happy. Jared Goff threw 4 INTs. At what point do you say, and I get it, Todd Gurley was getting his brains bashed in on the ground. But 11 carries on a night where you score 6 points and the passing game is not working, 40 attempts, and it's cold, it's frigid, you're not inside, 40 attempts passing in a game where you were never more than 2 scores away, and it was 9. It's not like you were down 19, you were down 9. And for much of the game, it was a 1-score game. 40 passing attempts. I said the same thing when I criticized Frank Wright last week when they lost to Jacksonville 6-0 in a game where Andrew Luck threw it 52 times. Why? 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 It just doesn't make sense. When you got Todd Gurley, last week I talked about Jared Goff struggling versus the Lions. He struggled last week. But you know what they did do last week? Sean McVay turned around and handed it. He didn't hand it off, but he called plays for Jared Goff to turn around and hand it off to Todd Gurley. And Todd Gurley put the team on his back and carried them, and they won the football game. They're obviously, they being the Bears, are not the Lions, who have one of the worst rush defenses in all of football. They're not the same entity. I get it. But at some point, if you want your play action fake to work, got to have more than 11 carries for Todd Gurley. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Sometimes Sean McVay is a play caller, and you see this with these offensive geniuses. They can fall into the trap sometimes of not wanting to stay balanced. Most offensive geniuses, and Sean McVay is an offensive genius, all right? He is a wizard, all right? He is a prodigy. You call it whatever adjective you want. They generally are pass happy, generally speaking, all right? You go down the list of all of these guys, with the exception of maybe Kyle Shanahan, and he comes from a tree where they run it first to set up play action fake. Outside of that, most of these guys, Josh McDaniels and Sean McVay and all these, you go down the list of any of these guys you consider offensive gurus in the league at this time. You want to go back anytime? Andy Reid, same way. They all want to throw it. At heart, they want to throw the football. To hell with the run. Want to throw it. The run is nice, but I'd rather throw it. So I thought they fell victim to, yes, the Bears were stopping the run, but I didn't think they gave Gurley enough opportunities. And we saw the same thing against the Chiefs when they scored 54 points. They didn't give Gurley enough carries in that game, but they were victorious because the passing game was working. Anyway, Goff was awful tonight. The Goffense was on lockdown tonight. Credit that Bears defense. 4 interceptions. And I've talked about this because there are a lot of fans out there that don't watch any other teams but their own. I talked about this before. If you're not watching other teams around the league and your quarterback stinks, you think that your quarterback stinks and he's turning the football over, pressure does that. Pressure, I get Vikings fans talking to me about Kirk Cousins all the time. What does Kirk Cousins face week after week? Pressure. Pressure makes you do stupid shit with the football. There aren't many guys like Patrick Mahomes that can escape 5 defenders and then find somebody on 4th down and forever. It's not many of those guys walking. There's Aaron Rodgers, there's Mahomes, and then there's the rest of the league for the most part. There aren't many guys that are that elusive. Lamar Jackson may evolve into that. He's not quite the passer that Mahomes is, but Lamar Jackson can make guys miss. We saw it again today. But there aren't many guys that are escaping the pocket, extending plays, and throwing it down the field. And if you don't have one of those guys, and there's pressure busts pipes. You've heard that expression before. Pressure forces turnovers. You saw it tonight. Jared Goff, under extreme duress, took a safety, fumbled the football, luckily enough for him. There was a mad scrum for it that his offensive lineman, Blythe, ended up falling on top of. If not for Austin Blythe, that's another turnover on a night where you threw 4 interceptions, had a safety. Yikes. It was pressure that turned this Rams offense into putty. Again, credit the Bears defense for that. They were ferocious up front. They had some issues with some communication, did the Rams. And that's what injuries also do. And again, let me reiterate this because a lot of people don't understand what continuity up front, what it brings, what it means. The Rams had some musical chair stuff going on today. And they haven't had that over the last 2 years. They've been relatively healthy on the offensive line, especially over the last 2 years. Sullivan left this game briefly with a head injury. He did come back. You had the guard go down. Roger Saffold went down. Again, I think he might have come back, but Roger Saffold went down. You had a couple of injuries in this game, and when you start shifting guys around and the familiarity isn't there. There was a play there at the end where Eddie Goldman, nobody blocked him. Nobody blocked Eddie Goldman, just turned him free. Okay, go after the quarterback. Knock yourself out. Like, you can't do that. But when things aren't working, when pressure is being applied, these are the kind of mistakes that are made. And so, again, credit the Bears for forcing the issue, pushing the envelope, and making the Rams uncomfortable. That's something that a lot of teams haven't been able to do this year. Hence the 11-1, now 11-2 mark. Teams haven't been able to make the Rams uncomfortable this season. The Bears made them very, very uncomfortable. Sean McVay likes calling plays on 2nd and 5, on 2nd and 6, on 2nd and 3. A lot of play calls on 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, 2nd and 14 tonight. That's not a fun time to be a play caller. When 1st and 10 goes for no gain, loss of 1, or an incomplete pass, now you're at 2nd and 10, that's not fun for a play caller. Especially when the rush is coming after you the way that it did tonight for this Bears defense and what they were able to generate. It's not a fun time to be a play caller. It was rough on Sean McVay tonight. So, and then you got a miss from young Jeezy, who may not be that young anymore. Maybe we should just call him Greg the Leg, I guess. Young Jeezy, he's not that young anymore. I prefer young Jeezy, though. Anyway, he missed a kick. But we saw that wasn't really on him. That was on the punter, Johnny Hecker. He spun the laces the wrong way. He even got up and said, "Hey, my fault. That's on me." Cost you 3 points. I don't know if it was going to matter in a game that you just couldn't move the football anyway. So I don't really know if it would have mattered, but it was a rough night for the Rams. Luckily enough for you, and they said this on the telecast, and I thought it was a great point. they're not going to have to play outside in the playoffs. Either way, they're going to end up with one of the top 2 seeds in the NFC conference when it's all said and done. Either they're going to be in the Dome in New Orleans or they're going to be at home in L.A. under the sunshine. Either way, and the Super Bowl is in Atlanta, in a dome, in a controlled environment. They don't have to go outside this postseason. So they don't have to worry about the elements. They don't have to worry about being cold as hell outside. They don't have to worry about any of that. They don't have to worry about this. Similar to when the Saints beat the Rams. If they play the Bears again, it will be in L.A. It will not be in Chicago. The outcome may be very different. I don't know. I'm not as definitive as I was with the Saints playing the Cowboys again. If they play each other again in New Orleans, that shit isn't happening. I'm not as definitive with that. But in any event, I'd like to think that the Rams will perform a lot better in 75 to 80 degree weather versus, 23 degrees in frigid temperatures in Chicago. Just saying. In any event, I thought the defense for the Rams actually played well tonight. Obviously, they forced 3 interceptions of Mitchell Trubisky. I know most nights for them, with those kind of turnovers, they're going to score 30-some-odd points, if not more. But, again, credit the Bears' defense, as I've said numerous times tonight. They were able, and that's what an elite defense does. You turn it over, deep in our territory, guess what? We'll come in. First play after you turn it over, we'll pick it off for you. Don't worry about it. We'll get it back. That's what elite defenses do. You make a mistake, we'll pick you up. That's what being a team is all about. You don't hang your head because your quarterback just threw a pick or he just fumbled. You go out, and you find a way to get a stop. Bears did that tonight. And so the Rams, they squandered some golden opportunities, man. So that Marcus Peters pick to start the game off, how different is this game if they get 7 off of that turnover? If their offense is able to generate a touchdown after that turnover instead of having to settle for a field goal. I mean, that stop by the Bears was just as critical as the interception by Peters was. It was crucial because that gave them momentum. They go down 7-0 early, and it's a different ball game. It's a huge stop. So, really, really, really impressed by the Bears tonight. Just as impressed as I was when they did it to the Minnesota Vikings a couple of weeks ago on Sunday night. Probably will be more impressed tonight. But the difference is I didn't expect them to do it against the Vikings a couple of weeks back. Picked the Vikings to win that game. Didn't expect the Bears to do what they did that night. I expected them to do what they did tonight. And it's always refreshing when you expect something in a team that is still on the rise, that's still figuring shit out on the fly, actually does what you expect them to do. Like, that's when you know they're starting to turn that corner. They're good, all right? I expected dominance on defense tonight against a high-powered offense. I got dominance on defense against a high-powered offense. That's what dominant defenses do. That's why when Dallas did what they did to New Orleans, I wasn't surprised. That's why what Baltimore did today against Kansas City, not surprised. That's what good defenses do against really good offenses. Slow their ass down. And in certain instances, like Dallas and like tonight, shut the faucet completely off. Turn that shit off. No drip, no drops. No, it's off. They shut it off tonight. Bears get to win 15-6, if not for Mitchell Trubisky being so generous in this time of season greetings, sharing the football all around. This could have got ugly and been an ass whooping. And really, 15-6, this still was an ass whooping in every sense of the word. But not the kind of ass whooping that you go out and say, man, Rams got their ass whooped tonight. But if you watch this game, this was a beatdown by the Chicago Bears football team. Let's get to the comments. And we start with Colts fan. And he's excited about the Colts win. Says, now those are the Colts I know. Colts fan also says Steelers not making the postseason. They would have to beat the Pats and the Saints. Let me ask you this, Colts fan, since you think the Steelers aren't making the postseason. Who's winning the AFC North? Think the Ravens are going to win that division? Huh? Think the Ravens are going to win that division? I'm just asking. I'm just asking for a friend. If the Ravens are going to win the division, okay, I hear you. If they're not, somebody's got to win the division. And I hear you. Saints on the road, that's probably a loss. You telling me that the Steelers can't get their shit together and beat the Patriots next week? Probably not, but it's possible. And then, oh, by the way, they finish up the season at home versus the Bengals. Yeah, the Jeff Driscoll-led Cincinnati Bengals. Right. I know they lost to the Raiders. I saw that one coming, too. Saw that one coming a mile away. That's why I didn't make them my survivor pool pick. I wanted to, but I said they're going to lose that game. Not picking them. And even after doing that, I picked the Denver Broncos in the survivor pool, and now those bastards lost. After Denver Broncos. That's why you're not going to the playoffs with your stinking ass. I asked you to do one thing. That's why you can't rely on bad teams to do shit for you. I tell myself this every year. Every year. Don't rely on garbage teams to carry out duties and tasks for you. And every year, my dumb ass finds a way to pick a damn team that I know damn well I wouldn't trust with my life to win a game. And every year, they do the same shit to my dumb ass, and I fall for the damn trap, fall for the damn banana in the tailpipe. Now, did this shit again this year, and I lost the survivor pool. Big ups to my man Money Miz for winning the survivor pool. Shit! I was so close. God damn it, the damn Broncos pissed me off today. But I should have known better. But it was either them or the Steelers. And I thought I was choosing the lesser of the two evils. Well, doesn't matter. Either one, I would have lost. So, there it is. Damn. I got Munson says, as crazy as Sunday I can remember, I know how you feel about the Dolphins, Louie, but they showed out today. As fluke as the finish was, still don't get them phasing K. Drake on and off. Look, I wasn't surprised by that outcome. I actually picked the Dolphins to win. Look, they know how to beat the Patriots in Miami. I talk about this. If you listen to my lockdown coverage podcast last week, I told you as much. This is what they do. They beat Brady and the Patriots, the B&B winning factory. In one of the few venues around the league, they have a losing record in Miami. Brady is now 7-10 in his career in Miami. Losing record. If the game is in Miami and the NFL has done a beautiful job of making sure that this game versus the Patriots is at the end of the season every year. I swear, if they put this game towards the front of the season, the Dolphins will probably lose the goddamn game. But the NFL says, we want to see if the Patriots are going to continue to struggle with these guys back into the season in Miami. So what do? They take the game, they throw it at the back end in December at some point, and they say, all right, Patriots, can you beat the Dolphins in December? And the answer has been no. I think that's now 3 years in a row. Late season in Miami, Patriots go down. Remember, it happened on a Thursday night, or was it a Sunday night last year, or a Monday night? One of those primetime games, they beat their ass in Miami last year. And the year before that, I'm pretty sure that was the year that they injured Brady, hit his ass in the knees, and sent him into the postseason banged up. Beat the shit out of him in Week 17, if I ain't mistaken, and beat him in that game. They don't play with the Patriots' ass in Miami. Now, yeah, it was a fluke finish, right? But they hung in that football game. That's what they do with the Patriots. They're the one team in the division that can actually say, hey, we can beat New England. It just has to be in Miami. That's all. But in any event, you're right. This was a crazy weekend. Really, the last 2 weeks have been insane. All right, some of these finishes, some of these outcomes. I mean, who saw a lot of what? I already talked about Denver. They really pissed me off. But there were so many outcomes that they could have went anyway. It just was a weird Sunday. It was a lot of good football. But my goodness, Texas get their 9-game win streak snapped, but that's family business. Ravens had a chance to win the football game. Couldn't get off the field on 4th and 19 to Tyreek Hill. They let Mahomes scramble around and be showtime on 4th down and long. That guy's amazing. Patrick Mahomes is amazing. He's won my respect. Goddamn, he's crazy. Anyway, and the last part of your comment, about the Dolphins phasing Kenyon Drake on and off. Look, they don't know what the hell they're doing out there, you know. And I don't know what's going on at practice. And, you know, whatever happens in Miami stays in Miami. That's generally, I mean, it seems like wherever Frank Gore goes, young guys get less playing time. And I'm like, I know Frank is the consummate professional and you trust Frank. But look, man, Frank's supposed to be a mentor to the youngins, not taking their spot and taking away minutes. I know this isn't basketball. And we're not talking about minutes, but touches. Like, that's one thing you don't try to do in basketball is you don't try to let an aging veteran take minutes away from a youngin. Like, get the young guys in there, let them play. Same thing with football. Like, let Kenyon Drake play. Let Kalen Ballage play a little bit more. Get these guys more touches. Nope, they like Frank Gore a lot. They did the same thing in Indy. And Indy didn't have any real talent at running back, no young talent. But it didn't matter. They loved Frank Gore so much that they didn't feel like they needed to go out and get any young talent for the longest. Anyway, Derek B says, the Bears made McVay and Goff look like Fisher and Goff. I owe an apology to all the Bears fans that I gave a hard time to for their 32nd ranked strength of schedule. Look, I don't know if you gave them a hard time before the season started. You can never tell what a schedule really is going to look like before the season starts. You can never tell. And so, in any event, McVay and Goff can never look like Fisher and Goff. Yeah, Fisher and Goff was pretty incompetent, and Goff at times looked pretty incompetent tonight. But give some credit to the Bears defense. All right, when Goff was under Fisher, you didn't have to do anything special to make Jared Goff look pedestrian. What the Bears did tonight was special. You know, the amount of pressure they were able to put on him, the plays that their guys, I know probably 90% of the corners in the league, that pick that Kyle Fuller had, the anticipation, the hands, I know 90% of corners in this league not going to make that play. It's facts. So, they made plays. They made plays. Give them credit. Colts fan says, Khalil Mack or Aaron Donald. I take Aaron Donald every day, twice on Sundays. Here's why. Love Khalil Mack. Love what he brings to the table. Guy's a game changer. You can't go wrong with either one. But what Aaron Donald does from the interior defensive line is unmatched. And furthermore, which pressure is worse? The kind that comes off the outside or the one that comes right in your face? Ask any quarterback, ask anybody around the league, and they'll tell you the pressure in your face directly is the worst pressure there is because you can't go anywhere. And guy coming off the edge screaming, if there's space to step up in the pocket, just step up. He'll go right around you. Guy coming right up the middle, hard to go left or right. Damn, he got me. Deer in headlights. Aaron Donald doing what he's doing from the interior defensive line is insane. Double teams a lot of times, you heard what they said, 9 of the man's 16.5 sacks have come off double teams. I rest my case, man. Aaron Donald is just as nasty against the run as he is pass. I take Aaron Donald. I got Munson says, Trubisky gets a reprieve thanks to great defense. Overall, his stats are solid and encouraging. He has to learn the just don't F it up decision making. He'll get there. You know, he'll get there. And he'll evolve. You know, I thought that 2 of his picks weren't necessarily bad decisions as they were just throws. Like, come on, guy, you can't airmail it there. You know, the throw before the half, that was a really poor decision. Really bad. Can't make that decision. Can't make that throw. Goff had some really bad throws tonight. I thought he looked really pedestrian and poor last week against the Lions, too. But they were able to run it. So it made everything okay. And the Lions are the Lions. They're not the Bears. Trubisky will continue to grow. He'll continue to grow. Craig Smith says, hey, Lou, keep the insults coming. Seems to inspire standout performances. Badgley was 4-4 today with a team record 59-yard boot. Hey, look, man. This shit is nice against the Cincinnati Bengals. You were playing the Bengals today, Craig. You were playing the Bengals. Listen to what I'm saying to you. The Cincinnati Bengals, Craig. Try that shit against Kansas City next week. Ask Badgley to hit a 59-yarder next week with the division on the line. Ask him to go. I guarantee you his ass don't go 4-4 next week. Guarantee it. When the pressure was on his ass against Pittsburgh, what'd he do? Fold up like a goddamn lawn chair. Luckily enough for you, the Steelers were dumb enough to jump off sides 18 times in a row. So you damn right the insults are going to keep coming. And I'm going to keep throwing them some bitches. Hopefully Michael Badgley catches them in stride. But they going to come. Because I don't trust his ass. Hashtag Big Bad Bagley, Money Badger, hashtag Bolt Game. We'll see about that. We'll see if you be hashtagging it up with Michael Badgley next week. Come back and see me. Don't run from me. Don't you run from me. Come back and see me next week. Be looking forward to it. Atlas says, now that was fun to watch. Happy to see that defense is not dead just yet. Also, this game was rigged. I needed that from my man, Atlas. Those calls were ridiculous, all just to talk up the Saints, I swear. In typical Atlas fashion. He says, Ed says, this was amazing defensive game from my Bears. Hashtag bear down. That it was. I think I've said that a million times tonight. Probably sound like a broken record at this point. The 20th Mike says, so all you need to defeat the Rams is a good defense. Good to know. Problem is, there are only about 3 or 4 of those in the league right now. 5 if you count Jacksonville, but Jacksonville isn't even Jacksonville right now. So there aren't many teams in the league that can do what the Bears did today. There are the Ravens, there are Cowboys, there are the Bears, and I'd throw the Buffalo Bills in there too. I'd throw the Bills in there. So yeah, it's not as simple as it looks. Trust me. Cloud says, welp. Looks like this is going to be a long offseason. Hashtag Couch Boys. I told you last week, don't get excited about what I saw. I said, look, what you did against the Redskins was cute, but it was the Redskins. We stink. Don't think for 1 second you're going to go to Dallas and do the same thing. Now, you had every opportunity to win that football game. Dak Prescott was funky, but every time he was funky, you guys gave him an opportunity to be a star. And look, your secondary is so banged up, I'm not even going to kill you for that. I'm not. I can't. You got 5th and 6th string corners out there. I don't even think there's a such thing. Kyle Little says, defense does win championships, but Mitchell Trubisky doesn't throw these picks. It shouldn't have been a close game at all, he says. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I got Munson that says, it amazes me how more teams don't run that tackle eligible near the end zone and throw it to him. Speaking of which, how A1 were the hands of the tackle eligible that caught the pass for the Bears? His name escapes me. But how A1 was his hands? I mean, he plucked that thing out of the air like it was nothing. That was gorgeous. That was fun. And I love the pure excitement that comes from an offensive lineman catching a touchdown pass or scoring. Man, the other offensive lineman gets so excited. I think it was Bradley Soul who caught the touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. His hands are A1 legit, folks. He looked like a tight end on that play. That was impressive because Trubisky was even off on that play. You couldn't tell if he was throwing it to him or the tight end or the other tackle eligible behind him. Either way, hell of a play by Bradley Soul. Cloud says this Bears defense is vicious, especially when it comes to takeaways. They lead the league for a reason. Boy, those guys are hungry for turnovers. Eddie Jackson, he get a chance, he don't miss. Kyle Fuller, he get a chance, he don't miss. Khalil Mack, to hell with a sack, he wants the football. I love it. Want more of it. Blackbird Blitz says, have we recovered from the Redskins roasting we had earlier today? The triggering and the rant was amazing. Glad to see you're okay. Take some time off, chill with the fam. I'm good, bruh. I said everything I needed to say earlier. And really, I wasn't that upset. You guys may think I was really upset. I really wasn't that upset. I generally can't eat during Redskins game because I'm nervous. And my girlfriend went out and we had Chipotle for dinner or lunch, whatever you want to call it. And she brought it back, and I ate it. As soon as she brought it back, and she was like, "You're eating?" She said, "You must not care about this game." I said, "I don't. There's no emotional attachment to what's going on in Washington right now. There isn't." And so I wasn't upset. I was more upset at the fact that change needs to be made, and I'm still not sure that it's going to take place. That's what I'm more upset about. In most normal franchises, when shit hits the fan like it has this year, and I know a lot of Redskins fans will keep saying that injuries have turned this season on its head and derailed this season, and I would agree with that. But before we were 6-4, before we were 6-5, before we were 6-6, before we were 6-7, what did I keep repeating over and over again? Jay Gruden has to go. And look, all Redskins fans have been saying Bruce Allen needed to go 5 years ago. So that's not new. You know, I don't have to continue to tell you that Bruce Allen needs to go. He needed to go 5 years ago. So what I'm saying is, all the winning was doing was masking the fact that change needed to be made. And with the injuries, all it did was bring everything, all the problems that we were masking by winning, because you know winning is the best deodorant there is. By winning, we were masking all of the fragrant and foul scents that this organization has been emitting over the years. And it's time to just free yourself. Open up those arms, put on some deodorant. No, matter of fact, get your ass in the tub, take a bath. Then get out, put on deodorant, put on some lotion, and let's freshen this shit up. And that's all that today's rant was about. Vincent Coe says, "You think my Seahawks can take care of business tomorrow night?" I already said that I thought you would. Ed says, "Cohen and Howard are a great duo of running backs, and them trick plays were amazing. Hashtag bear down." I love Tariq Cohen. I loved him coming out of North Carolina A&T. Thought he was going to be special, and he has been. Those smaller backs that are crafty like he is, that have those kind of quicks and moves, they're so hard to deal with. That's why, Tyreek Hill is so hard to deal with. No, he's not a running back, but same type of body type. That's why I thought that a guy like the Houston Texans running back that they got out of San Diego State a couple of drafts ago would be a lot better, but he hasn't. But he's not as shifty. He's more of a straight line speed guy. The guys with the lateral quickness are the ones that hurt you. And that's why Cohen is so dynamic, not to go along with being ridiculously fast. But that's why he's so dynamic, and same can be said about Tyreek Hill. Of course, the blazing speed doesn't hurt either. JP says, "Not even sure if I want to talk about this game after the ass over the Redskins took today, but I have to ask how you feel about if this team considered hiring Reggie McKenzie to be the GM." No, I'm good. Appreciate it, though. Thanks. Cloud says, "This draft will be big because it's so much defensive talent. That defense doesn't win championships anymore. Talk will even out next season or the season after." Look, people still believe defense wins championships. Like, I know the Super Bowl last year was exhilarating and it was a shootout and Tom Brady threw for over 500 yards and a loss. I get all of that. But let's not get carried away. And I think this week's NFL results, despite the Chiefs eking out a win in overtime, what the Ravens did to the Chiefs, what the Bears did to the Rams, and what the Cowboys did to the Saints last week, I think it goes to show that if you have elite defense, you can beat elite offense. Elite defense still wins in this league. Always has, and to me, always will. No matter how much the league wants to see points being scored, if you can play top-notch defense, you have a shot to beat anybody in this league. And I mean anybody, anytime, anywhere. Because as we all know, defense travels. Reese says, "There's nothing like a fat man touchdown, Lou." Indeed. Touche, Ree. Vincent Coe says, "What is with Josh Allen running like a madman every single game? I know I saw another 9 carries for $1 and some change. I think it was 101 this game. Like, what the hell is going on out there? I don't know. He wasn't even this type of playmaker at Wyoming. So the fact that his legs have all of a sudden turned into like Michael Vick's legs, and I get it. He's not running a 4.3 40 like Vick was, but god damn it. You know, he's making that 4.7 look damn fast on Sundays. I'll tell you that much. At some point, if you're playing the Bills, don't you have to spy him and make sure that he's not hurting you with his legs? He's running for touchdowns more than he's throwing for them. He's making plays with his legs, obviously, week after week. 3 straight 100-yard performances. Hell, I don't even know if my team has 300-yard performances on the ground this season. He's got 3 straight as the quarterback. Like, this is insane. Silver V says, Rams coach got too pass happy. Why not give the ball to Gurley after their pick? Instead, they throw a pick on the very next play, shaking my damn head. Again, I told you that this is something that McVay can fall prey to. He can get extremely invested in the pass and forget that he's got an MVP candidate in the backfield in Todd Gurley. And we saw it in the Chiefs game. You saw it again tonight. It can happen from time to time. I think when he goes back and reviews the film, and again, let me stress this. The Bears were doing a good job of bottling up Todd Gurley. It's not like Gurley had 8 rushes for 40 yards and it was spread out 5 here, 8 here, and 5 here, 6 here, 4, 2, and then 9. It was literally the Bears bottled him up. But that being said, Gurley's one of those guys you keep giving it to him, and eventually he's going to pop one. And he did have like a 12 or 13-yard carry in there. But there were a lot of negative carries, a lot of minimal carries in there. But he did pop one for like 12 or 13, and the more you give it to him, you're going to get those kind of runs. And eventually, that's going to open up play-action fake. I just thought that tonight McVay made some mistakes from a play-calling standpoint, and he'll go back, he'll watch. He's a great self-assessor. He'll assess his play-calling in his game, and he'll realize, I should have caught more runs. That would have helped aid our passing game. It would have took off some of the burden on Jared Goff's shoulders. Guys would have been a lot more open, and we would have been able to operate a lot better in space had I run it a little bit more. And play-action fake would have been more effective, but he didn't run it enough. Simple as that. FBG Tony says, shout out to that Bears D. Mac, Hicks, Floyd, Goldman, Roquan, Danny, all dogs. Also, Eddie Jackson is an absolute ball hawk. He said, dude is a monster. Bears are mighty scary. Indeed. Reese says, that is it, Lou. I wasn't disappointed today because I knew the Bucs weren't going to do this to me again. Again, you sound like a man that's still trying to convince himself. You were all in when you were up 14-0 in that game. You were all in, Ree. Don't you try to lie to me. You thought you were going to win today. Cloud says, didn't Parker already cost him a game earlier in the season? Yes, the Dolphins game when he missed a field goal. But they should have lost that game anyway before he missed the field goal. But that's nor here nor there. FBG Tony says the Rams sort of got exposed. When playing elite defenses, they struggle. I don't think they got exposed necessarily. I just think this is a lesson that they need to learn from. When you're playing against teams that can stop you from throwing the football as freely as you are accustomed to doing, you must then turn to the run game a little bit more. And even if the run game isn't working effectively, the threat of the run will force the Bears, or any other defense for that matter, to respect and come up. That will then open up holes and areas in the second level to make some more clearly defined passing lanes. Those just weren't there. The Bears didn't respect the Rams' ability to run it because they didn't run it enough. So those play action fakes that generally they have vacated areas in the zone and guys are not there and the receivers are running free, that just wasn't the case tonight. It wasn't the case. Derek B says, after the Mack and Cooper trades, Gruden should get an NFL Executive of the Year. Moves that won divisions for 2 different teams in the same year. Players proved they weren't the problem. As much as it pains me to say this, that Amari Cooper trade all of a sudden for Dallas, man, that looks like a damn good trade. God damn it. I thought that, and you know what? I listened to Amari Cooper talk today after they won the game, and it dawned on me. Guys from the South, seems like a guy that is pretty soft-spoken. Doesn't, he's not one of these guys that is looking for the limelight. He's like a Kawhi Leonard if you watch basketball. Doesn't really want too much of the attention. Just wants to go out, play ball, and wants to be one of the guys in the locker room. Dallas is probably the best place for him, to be honest with you. he said he grew up dreaming about playing for an organization like the Cowboys. I believe him. He probably grew up a Cowboys fan. This couldn't have. The guy looks focused. He looks dedicated. He looks engaged. These are all things that from week to week you didn't know if you were going to get from him in Oakland. I don't think he's dropped a pass yet. A guy that had Butterfingers in Oakland, a guy that you questioned his love for the game. He looked disinterested most weeks. This guy is engaged. He's out blocking. He's catching everything. Yards after the catch, through the roof. He looks like he's at Alabama again. He says he's having fun again. I believe him. It's a hell of a trade. Enrique Valencia says, I'm sick and tired of these Colts wide receivers not named T.Y. Hilton. Second in drops, lowest yards after the catch, total for wide receivers, and cost Luck 5 picks with drop passes. Look, man. Look. This is what happens when you think that it's okay to trot Chester Rogers out there. To trot a guy that I hold near and dear to my heart, but he's not in Washington for a reason, and Ryan Grant out there. Look, I told you that the Clemson receiver that you drafted, Deion Kane, when he tore his ACL, that was going to hurt you because he was going to ascend, I think, to number 2 receiver right away. You have nothing out there stopping Deion Kane from being your number 2 wide receiver. This is why I thought, hey, man, I know that Dante Moncrief always gets hurt, but Dante's still better than anything not named T.Y. Hilton you got. I wouldn't be so hasty to just let him walk. But you did. Luckily enough for you, Eazy-E showed up, and that's the best thing that could have ever happened to you. And I told you when you signed him, one of the best free agent signings of the offseason, I said you won't find a better fit for Eazy-E than Indianapolis because Luck loves to use the tight ends, and Eazy-E is having arguably the best season of his career. Reed says, are the Rams coasting and saving their energy for the playoffs? No, that's not, because they want the number 1 seed. They don't want to go to nobody wants to go to New Orleans in the NFC. So there is no such thing as coasting, saving energy for the playoffs. Cloud says, dog, stop. We probably won't win another game to week 17 against y'all, and even that isn't guaranteed. Hashtag stink bowl. You might be right, but hey, this league is a week to week, and you know this, man. You could go next week on the road and beat the Rams, and it wouldn't shock me. Probably not going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me. With your corners banged up as they are, the Rams will probably roast you for 40, but stranger things have happened. We got a minute and a half left. Atlas says, Matt Nagy is being grossly overrated because everyone is caught in the moment. The Bears just won the Oakland sweepstakes. Hell, put Mac on the Cardinals or something and watch them win. Not exactly. Now, you got to give Matt Nagy some credit for what he's done for this Bears offense. He took an offense that last year was pedestrian, and they've had some offensive explosions this year, and Mitchell Trubisky looks like a different quarterback. Now, again, tonight, Mitchell Trubisky reverted back to the guy that you saw last year that made a bunch of mistakes. But for the most part, Trubisky's looked like a different guy. And even last week, even the week before that, with Chase Daniel at quarterback, you can't tell me that the play calling and some of these razzle-dazzle, as they call it, razzle-dazzle offense, some of these plays, come on, man. Don't do that. Carlos Garcia says, Michael Badgley has been solid, only missed 2 kicks this year. And look, man, y'all keep trying to defend this man. He's only missed 2 kicks. How many kicks has he kicked? How many kicks has he kicked and he's only missed 2? Hey, look, man, I'm just telling you. And don't come crying to me when you lose a game that matters because Michael Badgley choked, okay? I'm not saying. I'm just saying. He's only missed 2 kicks. Would have been 3 if the Steelers didn't jump off sides. You keep making excuses for him. I'm just telling you what it is. Michael Badgley was on the streets for a reason. All right? We'll see what happens, though. Ed says, Chicago ain't Los Angeles. It's cold over here firsthand because I live in the Midwest. Trust me. I know. Reese says, John Harbaugh, Chris Richard, Josh McDaniels are all on my wish list coaching candidates for the Bucs. Harbaugh, after what he's done with the Ravens, they're probably going to make the postseason. He's probably not getting fired now. So, McDaniels not going to come to Tampa. Why? Because he's going to go somewhere where they've got an elite quarterback where he could just jump right in and hit the ground running with something elite at quarterback, i.e. Green Bay. Like, that's where Josh McDaniels would go. So, I don't see him coming to Tampa. Marcus J. TV says, way too many turnovers and not much offense. Lose out on the first round bye. You're not dead yet. The Saints haven't clinched the first round bye. They could easily lose one more game. They do have the Steelers in New Orleans. I know it's in New Orleans, but they got Carolina twice. And generally, Carolina's good for beating the Saints in Carolina. So, you're not dead yet from that standpoint. Buffalo Pregame says, this day makes me rethink a high-powered offensive team will make the Super Bowl. I'm trying to tell you, if they run into the right team, right circumstances, all bets are off. JP says, I said before the season that the Bears, you were one of the people I was thinking about when I said I chastised people for talking about the Bears and how they were going to win all these games. You were the first person that popped in my head. But JP says, Bears were my sleeper team this year, and I said they would go 11-5, and all you dopes laughed at me. Nobody is laughing now. Hashtag I love when I'm right. You're right, JP. You got me. Hands up. And you said it, and you're the first person I thought about when I saw this Bears team really turn the corner. When they beat Minnesota, and I had to admit, damn, the Bears are actually good this year. You're the first person I thought about because I gave the Bears no chance. None. 8-8 was the best they could do this year. They're on a crash course for at least 10 wins, possibly 11. And your 11-5 doesn't look all that far-fetched at this point. Kudos to you, JP. Got to give you a big ups for that. You called that one for sure before the season started. Buffalo Pregame says, who do you see making the Super Bowl in the NFC? It's hard for me to see. I got to see how these seeds shake out, and then I can tell you how I feel. Vincent Coe says, maybe an unpopular opinion, Leonard Fournette is not worth the 4th overall pick. He's not the whole package like McCaffrey, Zeke, or Saquon. All right, here's the thing with Leonard Fournette. You block, he runs, he's worth a 4th overall selection. You don't block, he's not going to make a lot of guys miss. That's not his game. So from that standpoint, he's not McCaffrey, he's not Zeke, he's not Saquon. He's more Zeke than he is McCaffrey or Saquon because Saquon and McCaffrey can make guys miss. And then there's another gear. I think he's more like Zeke because he can power through an arm tackle and a run that looks like it's blocked for 2, he can get 5 and fall forward. That's what Fournette is. We weren't saying that about Fournette last year when he helped this Jags team get to the AFC Championship game. I just think you got to know who Fournette is as a football player. And if you don't have an offense, and we talked about this when the draft was going on in 2016, when he was drafted, or 2017, when him and McCaffrey came out, 2 different backs. You got to know that if you're getting McCaffrey, you got to know how to use him. You got to throw it to him. You got to hand it to him. You got to get him out on the perimeter. You got to get him out in the screen game. As versus with Leonard Fournette, if you're going to draft Fournette, you got to know that this guy needs 20 to 25 carries a game to be effective. And so he's a different type of back for sure. I think he's a top 10 worthy pick, but I digress. Anyway, we've hit our hour, and I thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. I thank you guys for joining me. Look forward to joining you guys later on. Make sure you check out Lockdown Coverage. That'll be out sometime tomorrow, most likely. If not, definitely early stages of Tuesday. You'll get a podcast this week. I'm back like cook crack. This cold is kicking my ass. My son, as I told you guys, had bronchitis, and he got everybody in the house sick. So I'm over here fighting, man. But my immune system, A1. So I'm going to be straight. And I'm kicking, man. And I'll be all right. But if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. I will see you guys next time. Bears, dominant performance on Sunday Night Football over the Los Angeles Rams. 15-6. Bears move to 9-4 on the season and separate themselves further from the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC North Division. Meanwhile, for the Rams, they lose grip of the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs, falling back to second place, tied with the Saints at 11-2. They now need help in order to get back to number 1. First, they got to take care of business. Next week, they go back home against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Once again, that should be interesting. We'll see what happens there. They're now 11-2. They'll rebound. They'll bounce back. But this was a tough one to swallow if you are a Rams fan. Nonetheless, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. See you guys next time. Have a good one.
Louie T.